Two, just making sure you can see me and hear me. Okay, so as soon as we get a couple of chats in there, what we're going to do is start talking today for our Motivational Guitar Monday. And we're going to talk about some exotic ideas, some things you can add into your solos or whatever you might be doing, just to have a little more fun. We're not going to get real deep on this stuff, but just have some fun and make some music and just look for some creativity for you for the week, some different things that you could do. So we'll just make sure you can hear me and see me okay, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, bud. Nice to see you. All right. Okay, cool. Hello, Arno. Hello, David. Hello, Ronald. Tom is here. Very nice. Vinayak is here. Daywalker is here. Hey, bud. Yeah, I was gone last week. I was out of town, so glad to be back. It's awesome. Rashad is here. Johnny is here. How you doing, bud? Kevin is here. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Danielle from Brazil. Kelly, Eric, Mojo, Rashad. Bleeding for Survival. Hey, bud. Chester is here. Andy is here. Liam is here. Worship Guitar Dictionary is here. How you doing? Just watching some Herman Lee. Very cool. All right. Very nice. Ann Britt is here. Hi, Ann. Kelly is here. Hey, bud. Rusty is here. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to be doing today is we're simply going to be looking at some fun things that you can do to add into your soloing or your songwriting or whatever it is that you're doing. Hey, Duke. Hey, Randy. Hey, Linda. Hey, Robert. And again, we're not going to get real deep on anything. I just want to give you something that you can think about for a week. And then next week, of course, we'll do something else. I should be back in town next week again. I've been going out of town a lot lately, but I think I'm in town next Monday. Hello from Nepal. Hey, bud. Colin is here. Joshua is here. Nay Lynn Het is here. George is here. Gio is here. Awesome. Sam, how you doing, bud? All right, so let's just start off with some simple ideas, and then we're going to go into some scale things and talk about that a little bit. And again, I'm not going to take way too much of your time. I just want to give you a couple things to think about. Now, when we play, if we think about, like, if I was to take, again, let's just say we're in the key of A. Okay? So I'm doing good, Domingo. How are you doing, bud? Now, we already know if we're playing pentatonically, if we add that blues note in, right, the flatted 5, this note right here, which exists up here, okay, that note right there isn't necessarily going to make it sound exotic, but if you're not used to using that, it's a great note to add into your solos. Okay, just adds that bluesy flavor, and I'm not going to call that exotic, but if you've never really used it before, it's a great note to change up the sound of your pentatonic. And I tend to play that one of two ways. Either I'm playing it within the sequence of something, or I'm going to slide with it. Okay, so that's the step number one. Again, not really exotic, but if you're not used to using that, it's a great note to start adding in. Now, another technique, and this is very much a Marty Friedman kind of thing, is whenever you have two notes, like let's say you have a whole step. So let's say we're dealing with these two notes right here. Okay, we're dealing with C and D on the 3rd string. So I'm playing the 5th fret and the 7th fret. Again, just thinking A minor pentatonic, for instance. Okay? Now, one really cool thing that you can learn to do is if you've got that 5 and you've got that 7, okay, is trying to focus on the 6 in the center, which isn't a logical note per se, but it's a really fun note to use. So let's say, for instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the 5 and the 7, and then I'm going to go to the 6, and I'm going to bend it up until it sounds like the 7. So in order to get this to kind of sound effective, what I need to do is you notice how as soon as I play that 7, I play the 6 right afterwards, and I bend it up until it sounds like the 7. And that little travel from being out of tune to being in tune can oftentimes sound sort of exotic. Okay, so that's kind of a cool thing. Hey, Denton. Hey, Doug. Songster Experience is here. Very cool. Okay, now what I like to do with that note is I'll actually, what we call pre-bend it, where I'll play the 6, but I've already bent it like that. And then what I'll do is I'll dip the note down and then bring it back up so it sounds like this. And it sounds kind of cool that way too. So I'm just dipping it down a little bit. And again, when you first start exploring these things, think about how they sound. Not just, should I, bend it, or release it all the way back down and bring it back up. You can, okay? But you don't have to. You just have to kind of learn to make it sound the way that you want to. Now, I could do something maybe where I'm going to play, again, I'm playing pentatonic. I'm playing 7-5-7. And then I'm going to go to that 6, and I'm going to either bend it up a half step, or I'm going to pre-bend it, release it, and bring it back up. So I can get one of two things here. Or I'm going to get... Okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my root, back to the A. And then I'm going to go to that 5. But maybe instead of just going to the 5, I'm going to go to the 4 before it, and I'm going to bend that up a half step. So I'm adding this kind of playing to my soloing. Okay? Now that 4 wouldn't necessarily be a note that doesn't exist in the scale, depending on how you're looking at this. I'm just trying to give you some ideas of inflection when you play to make it sound a little more interesting. When you play, okay? So those are really good ways of being able to take a simple pentatonic idea and expand it with just maybe the blues note that we talked about, or maybe just this half step bend. Now it does take some practice to dial it in, because what I find a lot with teaching, which I've done my whole life, is that sometimes people understand the idea of bending or the idea of vibrato, but they have a hard time executing it to make it sound the way they want it to sound. Hey, Felipe. Hey, Steve. Steve says, first-time listener. Glad you're here, Steve. And that really is the whole thing with playing guitar for me, it's less about how fast you play or how much knowledge you have, and all of those things are important, don't get me wrong. But it's more in your execution. Regardless if you play fast or slow or blues or rock or country or whatever it is you do, it's in your execution of the things that you do know. The better you can execute the things that you already know and make them sound more authentic, okay? That's kind of the goal whenever you're playing, is when you grab the guitar and you play and people listen to you, they go, oh yeah, it sounds good. It sounds like music. That's what it's supposed to be. And so I know it's hard sometimes because we always get caught up in, the technique of things or, the knowledge of things. And again, all that stuff is really great. But your execution of the ideas that you're learning is what you really want to try and think about as much as you can. So if I'm playing, again, pentatonic, diatonic, whatever it might be, as I'm playing... I worry less about which notes I am or I'm not picking, or what the teacher showed me, or, whatever those things kind of be. Again, I'm not saying that that's negative. If it's teaching us something that we need and it's valuable to us, then it's absolutely crucial. But it always still comes down to, at the end of the day, how it sounds when you play. So if I'm playing pentatonic and I go into that exotic bend, I've got to find a way to make it sound interesting in the way I play, you see? So we've got our blues bend, we've got this half-step idea, and again, it really can occur just about anywhere. If you've got a whole step between two notes, anywhere between that whole step, anywhere, it's one fret. If you've got that half step in between, it's a great way to do that. And what I always tell people is when you first start exploring this, a great way to do it is to play, for instance, the 5 and the 7, or the 8 and the 10, or whatever it might be. Then go to the 9 and reiterate that 10th fret, or the 7th fret, or whatever, okay? Reiterate that by bending to it. So if you go... or wherever you want to go on the guitar, if I go... or... okay, and if I want it to sound even more exotic, I can do that pre-bend, bring it down. And then I got to decide where to go from there, okay? So hopefully that makes sense to you. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to talk a little bit about a couple of exotic scale applications that I think might be fun for you. So again, if we're playing an A, we're playing A minor pentatonic right now. Let's take that A minor and let's move that into diatonic. Let's play A natural minor or A Aeolian. Okay, so I'm going to play 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7. Okay? Now, if you've never really moved past the pentatonic, just playing a natural minor scale like this or the Aeolian mode can be really great because all of a sudden you've got these new notes that you're adding in. You see, just by adding those notes in, again, the beautiful thing about the pentatonic is that it gives us all of these notes that are pretty solid over our chords. It's really kind of hard to hit the wrong note. The downside of the pentatonic is that it's missing some really colorful sounds because we're missing half steps. And notice how when I was adding that bend in, I'm really adding in the sound of a half step. Okay, well now we're just adding in a standard scale here. Okay, hey Joe, hey Klaus, hey Jericho. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that natural minor scale. So again, I'm playing 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7. And if I mess around with that, you get some really pretty sounds out of that. What I'm going to do is take the 7th note, the 7th degree of my scale, and I'm going to turn this into what we call harmonic minor by raising that note 1 half step. So instead of playing 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, I'm going to play 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 6, 7. Okay, now the harmonic minor really is a minor scale, natural minor scale, but it's borrowing the sound of the, in this case, the A major scale, that leading tone that pushes the 7th degree to the root. We're adding that into the minor side. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine, okay? You see? So now what happens is because we raise that 7th degree, the distance from the 6 to 7 becomes really large, and then the distance from the 7 to the root again is very, very small. See that? And that's a really nice way of getting, again, more exotic sound. Now, you know, if you were playing over a G, C, D chord progression, this might not work. But if you were playing over, sometimes I use this stuff in blues. I use it a lot in, obviously, rock and metal and things like that. So it kind of depends on what kind of music you like to play, right? Okay, so now what I want to do is with that idea, I just want to show you a couple of shapes. And of course, you can watch this anytime you want. Again, watch a... just go back and re-watch this to watch, what's the words I'm looking for? To memorize what it is that we're doing. You might be at work or you might be going to bed or something like that, and it's perfectly fine. You can watch this later and get it, okay? So as I'm playing this, let me show you a shape that I like to use. Now I'm going to use the standard shape to begin with, and then we're going to expand a bit out from there. So I'm playing 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 6, 7. Now, on the next string, I'm going to play my normal 4, 5, 7. And then normally I'd play 5, 6, and 8, but I'm only going to play 5, 6. And then on this top string, I'm going to play 4, 5, 7. And then I could add 8. So you can hear right there just that 4, 5, 7, 8. 5, 7, 8 is my normal natural minor. But I'm adding, hey Cody, I'm adding that 4 there. So you just have to figure out kind of how this works, how you'd use this. So you can kind of see how as I'm playing that, when I add that harmonic minor note in, it gives you this big, larger interval, and then this smaller interval. Okay? And just always remember, an easy way to think of this is if you know where you know what key you're in and you know your root, in this case it's A, my harmonic minor is located just a half step back from wherever my A is. So as long as I'm playing and I go, I'm going to get that kind of sound. But again, it's not enough just to play it. You've got to figure out kind of how to sell it in your playing so it sounds interesting, okay? So now let me show you another shape that I like to use with this to sort of, well, it's just something that I use a lot. So as I'm playing, and again, you might have to go back and watch this because I'm not going to do this 500 times for you, but just so you can kind of see this. So I might play something where I play 5, 7, 8, and I move up to the 10th fret. So now I've shifted positions on the guitar, which is what I'm looking for. So when I'm up here, I'm going to play 10, 8, 7, and on the next string, I'm going to play 10, 9, 6. Okay, which sounds really cool to my ears, the phrasing of that. Okay, I kind of like that sound. And again, I'm not doing anything new. I'm not doing any new notes. I just like the sound of that using the 3 notes per string here, doing, again, 10, 8, 7, 10, 9, 6. And then the next string would just be 9 and 7. And then next string I'd have 10, 9, 7, 6. Okay, so that's a really neat little thing that you can do to try and utilize this as well. Just to break you out of just playing in this first position, right? So you might be playing and just drop into that for a lick or something like that, okay? So that's the idea behind harmonic minor. Now, just to finish this up, I'm going to give you one more thing to think about, which is a super easy little twist on this. I'm going to take that exact same scale shape that I'm using right now, okay? Or looking at it as, again, I'm just playing the same notes, I'm just playing them in a different position. Doesn't matter how you look at it. But instead of A being my root, I'm going to make E my root and play those exact same notes. Okay? So now listen to that as I play E in the bass. Okay, so I'm playing the exact same notes. I'm playing a harmonic minor, but I'm playing it over the note E as my root. And when I do that, we call it Phrygian dominant. It'd be called E Phrygian dominant. And again, I don't want to get way too off in the weeds with theory and things like that because we don't really have time for that right now. But if you think about it, adding that sound in, again, is a simple twist. You're just going from A harmonic minor, but you're deciding to add E in the bass. E becomes your root note, okay? So as you do that, you get that kind of sound. Hey, Jeff, Shannon is here. Hey, Shannon, Pooh is here. Pooh Ninja, okay? So again, you don't have to, you can, but you don't have to go, okay, I need to learn all my theory and all this all over the fretboard. And whenever I say that, I'm not saying that it's bad to learn theory. I love theory, and I love technique, and I love all those kinds of things. But the point of this Monday motivation is to give you something fun to explore. If it opens up a new door in your brain and you want to go studying something, that's wonderful. But I just want you to kind of have fun exploring these sounds, because you might be playing, a bluesy thing, and all of a sudden you just go into a... just throw that little phrase of Phrygian dominant in there with your blues, and it's going to sound pretty cool. I mean, there's players that do this kind of stuff all the time. So it's not like it has to be, a Phrygian dominant thing that only focuses on playing in Phrygian dominant. Your chord progression needs to be Phrygian dominant. That might be true, but it doesn't have to be. So if I was playing, think about this. If I'm playing an E, and then I go into a... and I just throw in something there that has a little bit of that Phrygian dominant in there, it sounds kind of cool, okay? So that's something to think about a little bit. So these are just some exotic ideas that you can use throughout the week. Hopefully they give you something fun to play, and then next week on Monday, I'll go live again. We'll find something else that's kind of fun for you to explore, whether it's a theory idea, a technique idea, a creative idea. I'm always looking for something new that I can give you. Just to practice a little bit and have some fun, okay? So do me a favor, if you get a chance, head over to guitarzoom.com, check out my guitar courses, the membership that we offer, all that kind of thing. I appreciate any support, share, like, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But most importantly, stay positive and keep practicing, and life isn't so bad, all right? So take care, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon, okay? Bye, everybody.